We are back from 14 nights on a Viking Ocean cruise and share all the details with you from the dining, onboard activities, entertainment, and more. We reveal what it's really like on a Viking Ocean ship to help you decide if it's right for you up next. Welcome aboard, everyone. I'm Don B from Eat Sleep Cruise, and it has been a few years since we last sailed with Viking Ocean Cruises. So the cruise line invited us back on board to experience the 14-day Into the Midnight Sun itinerary. And although Viking Ocean ships are small by today's standards, holding just under 1,000 passengers, there's still plenty to do, see, and eat to keep you busy during our 2-week voyage. The ship's design is simple yet elegant, with modern touches that are both stylish and functional. The public spaces are inviting, meant to encourage socializing among guests. Deck 1 is home to the living room and library. With smaller alcoves lined with plush couches and oversized chairs, guests can unwind, review tour options, or make new friends. They can also grab a specialty coffee or a cocktail at the bar while enjoying light piano music in the atrium. The same thoughtful design shines in spaces like the Explorer's Lounge. Located on Deck 7, this venue offers amazing forward-facing views of the bow. We found ourselves spending a lot of time in this cozy, yet expansive 2-deck observation space. There are plenty of nooks to read, do work, or just admire the views. On Viking Jupiter, the Explorer's Lounge is home to Explorer's Dome. This onboard planetarium is found only on 2 ships in the Viking Cruises fleet. While complimentary, space is limited, so guests looking to experience the Explorer's Dome are encouraged to book as soon as they board. Midship of the Explorer's Lounge is the equally tranquil Winter Garden. We couldn't pass up the afternoon tea service on several occasions during our trip. With snacks and a wide array of teas, it was a perfect afternoon pick-me-up after a chilly day ashore. The space is bright, comfortable, and airy, but does feel underutilized. It would be great if there was additional programming in the Winter Garden besides the afternoon tea with accompanying light music. Honestly, the space was mostly empty, with some guests using it as a quiet spot to read or check emails. In addition to the inviting interior lounges and public spaces, the outdoor areas on Viking Jupiter were equally serene and thoughtfully designed. All the way forward on Deck 9, there is a small sports deck. And before you get excited, unfortunately, it's not large enough for a pickleball court, but there are a few games available. On a few of the sunnier days, we did catch some fellow passengers challenging one another some shuffleboard. There's also a putting green, lawn bowling, and a ping pong table. For more active cruisers, the fitness center on Deck 1 offers a variety of options. There are free weights, cardio equipment, and weight machines. Some group fitness classes are available for a nominal upcharge as well. If you prefer some fresh air during your workout, there's the outdoor promenade on Deck 2 that fully circles a ship, with 4 laps equaling 1 mile. On the port side and starboard side of Deck 8, you can find sun loungers, couches, and small tables. Thus, guests could catch some rays on Sunday afternoons, or just enjoy some coffee as the ship sailed through the stunning Norwegian fjords. Additionally, Viking Ocean ships feature 2 pools, both on Deck 7. Midship is the main pool, surrounded by loungers and additional cafe seating. The main pool is an indoor solarium with a retractable roof. So regardless of the temperature or weather outside, you can enjoy the pool and whirlpool. Although we had 14 days on board, we never found time to take a dip. Aft on the same deck, beyond the World Cafe, is the Aquavit Terrace. This deck space boasts an infinity pool and whirlpool, along with outdoor cafe seating near the buffet. This is also a popular place for sightseeing during scenic sailing. On a couple of days, it was sunny and warm enough for guests to take the plunge with beautiful vistas in the backdrop. Heidi and I were not among them. When compared to Viking River cruise ships, the ocean ships feature a greater variety of casual dining options, which is a huge positive for us, given we're used to offerings on modern megaships. With various casual dining options, as well as alternative dining, we never went hungry. The World Cafe, the ship's buffet, offers a standard rotation of breakfast, lunch, and dinner choices every day. While breakfast remains the same, options for lunch and dinner change daily. Breakfast starts somewhere around 6:30 or 7 a.m. and usually ends around 10 a.m. most days. With a selection of hot and cold breakfast items, along with made-to-order omelets, we could fuel up for the long day of sightseeing ahead. The World Cafe was open for lunch most days from around 11:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Like all the restaurants on the ship, dinner was from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. During lunch and dinner, the options consisted of a salad bar, pizza, carving station, an Asian station with rotating selections, sandwiches, made-to-order grill items, and a variety of hot international entrees. At dinner, there's also sushi and various seafood selections, in addition to occasionally themed nights. While Heidi stuck mostly to salad and pizza, as well as the occasional piece of grilled chicken, I enjoyed some of the upgraded specialties. Other casual dining options available include the pool grill, which is located near the pool. Like most cruise lines, this venue serves hot dogs and hamburgers, accompanied by some crispy french fries. On most days, guests could grab a quick bite to eat here from 11:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Heidi got creative here, grabbing a piece of grilled chicken from the buffet to make her own sandwich. One of the more popular dining spots on Viking is Mamsen's, located on Deck 7 in the Explorer's Lounge. For a quick bite to eat, guests can't go wrong with Norwegian-style open-faced sandwiches. However, it's almost mandatory to order at least one Norwegian waffle during your cruise. We couldn't help but dig into these irresistible wafflers with mixed berries, whipped butter, and brown cheese a couple mornings during our cruise. The other breakfast pastries here are also quite tasty. This late risers breakfast runs until 11 a.m. most mornings. Among many of Viking Ocean's inclusions, guests get espresso-based coffee drinks at several bars and self-service stations in the World Cafe. Still, the living room was our go-to spot for morning iced caramel latte and double espresso. By day 3, the resident morning bartender, Addie, knew our regular order. The living room bar also offers a small selection of cookies, breakfast pastries, breads, and sandwiches throughout the day. Unlike most mainstream cruise lines today, all-day room service is complimentary on Viking Ocean Cruises. For breakfast, the menu features hot items like omelets, eggs, and pancakes, along with continental pastries. It's almost essentially the same exact menu you get in the main dining room. For lunch and dinner, there's a small selection of salads, soups, sandwiches, and desserts. The menu also features a few entrees, including steak and fries, salmon, and some great chicken tenders that you won't find anywhere else. On Deck 2 was the restaurant, the main dining room on Viking Jupiter. Like many of the other venues on the ship, it was bright and warm. With each side lined with floor-to-ceiling windows, there was plenty of natural light. This was especially true during our Into the Midnight Sun itinerary, which featured days with 24 hours of sunlight. At all meals, the restaurant has open seating on a first-come, first-served basis. You can opt for a private table for your party, or elect to sit at a shared table with other guests. While there may have been a small queue to check in, we never had to wait for a table. The restaurant served breakfast every morning of the cruise, usually running from about 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. The menu featured many of the same selections as the buffet, although it was nice to enjoy a sit-down breakfast once in a while. On sea days, the restaurant also had a sit-down lunch, which usually ran from 12 p.m. to about 1:30 p.m. Like dinner, the lunch menus consisted of an always available selection of sandwiches and entree salads, and then there were daily specials. Each evening, guests had the option of classics like a Viking steak and fries, poached salmon, or beer marinated chicken. Like most main dining rooms, there were rotating daily specials as well, and select destination-themed dishes. The Cornish hen in England and the Angus beef in Scotland were among the trip's highlights. Still, there were other classic cruise dishes. I couldn't pass up the grilled lobster tail or the beef Wellington, and Heidi also enjoyed the turkey dinner. Overall, the menu selections were a bit more upscale than mainstream cruise lines. There's also no upcharges for additional entrees. In addition to the restaurant, there are 2 alternative dining venues open for dinner on Viking Ocean cruise ships. Unlike most cruise lines though, these specialty restaurants do not incur a cover charge. One of our favorites is Manfredi's, serving up Italian classics on the starboard side of Deck 1. It's home to perhaps the best bread basket of any cruise ship. Plus, this venue offers freshly made linguine and spaghetti. If you are a pasta lover, you need to dine here at least once during your cruise. The menu features a daily fish and pasta special, as well as classics like fruit de mar and carbonara. But steak lovers will not want to pass up on the Viking bistecca. This signature steak is among my favorites at sea. Heidi's favorite dishes were the chicken parm and the ravioli. Opposite of Manfredi's on the port side of Deck 1 is the Chef's Table. This alternative restaurant offers themed 5-course menus that change every few days. It also comes with an included wine pairing. Guests can opt to purchase a premium wine pairing for $25, or, insider tip, guests with the Silver Spirits package receive the upgraded wine pairing at no charge. During our 14-day cruise, there were 5 different themed menus. Xing, featuring Chinese cuisine, Great Britain, Lotus, Mexico, and Asian Panorama. On board, we were able to switch our pre-made reservation to a menu that better suited our tastes. Over the 2 weeks, we tested out the Mexico and Asian Panorama menus. On both occasions, the food was on par with our previous chef's table experiences on Viking ships. I quite enjoyed the short rib entree on Mexico night, as well as the dessert trio from the Asian Panorama. Happily, the chef also worked to customize the menu for Heidi, as she doesn't eat seafood or red meat. While these 2 alternative restaurants are complimentary, reservations are required. Depending on your suite category, guests can make advanced dining reservations as early as 100 days before the ship's departure. But once on board, you can make as many additional reservations as you want based on availability. Similar to Viking River cruises, beer, wine, and soft drinks are included at all meals. With our Silver Spirits package, we had access to a premium wine list at dinner. Still, these wines were only a modest $8 upcharge per glass for those without the package. Viking Ocean ships contain several exhibits that are ripe for independent review. Throughout the ship, guests can marvel at various pieces of art and photography. Using the art guide feature in the app, we garnered a greater appreciation of some of the ship's onboard artwork. Additionally, the Viking Heritage exhibit on Deck 2 details the Viking Ages, with replicas from the roughly 300 years of Viking dominance. Plus, various authentic Norwegian bunads are prominently displayed on Deck 3. While guests can use the app to delve deeper into these pieces on their own, organized tours take place on sea days as well. For instance, guests can learn more about the Bayeux Tapestry with a guided tour hosted by the onboard historian. Viking takes its enrichment and cultural immersion program very seriously. During our sailing, there were 4 lecturers with diverse backgrounds. These speakers included a retired space astronaut instructor, serving as a resident astronomer, to a world-class storyteller. There was also a resident historian and lecturer offering a range of featured presentations. The daily topics spanned from World War history to Northern Europe's natural weather phenomenon to even UFOs. It was always intriguing to discover what each day would bring. These sessions consistently attracted guests to the Star Theater, eager to expand their horizons. Along with these enrichment talks, the cruise director Graham and the shore excursion staff also hosted your typical port talks. These shorter presentations provided a quick overview of the next destination, as well as a brief discussion of the tour option. Beyond enrichment opportunities, there were other activities available for guests, such as trivia and competitions such as crew versus guest cornhole. There's also a book exchange and various tabletop games to challenge your friends and family. Not to mention, the spa's thermal suite is included in the cruise fare. After a long day ashore, guests can relax in the therapy pool, on a heated stone lounger, or in the sauna, or maybe take a cold plunge and step into the snow grotto. Unlike Viking River ships, Viking Ocean ships do feature regular entertainment more akin to mainstream cruise lines. While not the elaborate cruise productions that you'll find on Royal Caribbean ships, the Viking Jupiter vocalists were a quartet of singers that performed various revue-style shows in the Star Theater. Our favorite performance was duets. The wide-ranging setlist featured popular duet songs spanning various genres, including pop, rock, and even country. Other productions included Stage Door, in which the cast celebrated musical theater, and Southern Sounds boasted country hits from Shania Twain and Johnny Cash, among others. But honestly, the highlights of the entertainment were cruise director Graham and assistant cruise director Tara. Both of them were visible presences throughout the ship. From Tara hosting daily trivia, to Graham emceeing the Arctic Plunge, and the officers vs. guest competitions, both were lively, fun, and very personable. On night 6, Tara hosted her show, Little Ol' Me. Though the mix of musical classics, all the way up to Guns N' Roses, which I appreciated, her vibrant personality and amazing voice truly sparkled. On night 11, Graham hosted his one-person show, Be Careful What You Wish For. With a mix of storytelling, music, and his distinct sense of humor, this hour-long show was standing room only. Additionally, comedy wordsmith Lloyd Howlett offered 2 unique comedy shows, and on the last night of the cruise was a destination performance from a Norwegian violinist. Along with the theater performances, the ship also featured additional musical acts. 2 pianists tickled the ivories in the central atrium. These tranquil melodies were a soothing way to unwind before or after dinner with a cocktail from the nearby living room bar. Jazzy and Jason were the featured singers in Tórshavn. Each evening, they offered dynamic sets with playlists ranging from Motown to Latin hits. As one of the only bars open late night, this is where the evening crowd tended to gravitate for live music, dancing, and cocktails. For something a bit more chill, Hollow strummed up acoustic guitar sets in the Explorers Lounge most evenings after dinner. This venue was our go-to spot for enjoying some espresso martinis while watching the midnight sun glow near the horizon. On one evening of our cruise, all the performers even took to the pool deck for the lively Dancing Under the Stars party, although there were no stars because the sun was still out. For this Into the Midnight Sun cruise, we stayed in a Deluxe Veranda stateroom. Suite 4083 was not far from the midship elevators on the starboard side of Deck 4. At 270 square feet, including the balcony, this veranda room is slightly larger than similar accommodations on mainstream cruise lines, yet the layout was still very similar to that found on most cruise ships. Our deluxe veranda featured 2 chairs and a coffee table in the seating area, rather than the typical love seat. Between the chairs and desks across from the seating area, Heidi and I were able to find corners of the suite for our daily work breaks. Of course, when the weather permitted, the veranda also served as a great place to do some work. That is, if we weren't distracted by the magnificent vistas of the Norwegian fjords. Similar to Alaska, having a balcony when sailing the Norwegian fjords is a must in our opinion. We spent a lot of time this trip just admiring the views at all hours of the day. Luckily, all Viking Ocean cruise ship rooms feature a veranda. With so much happening on board and at each port of call, it was always easy to fall asleep on our Viking King bed. While we don't usually watch television on a cruise, Viking's programming includes recordings of all the lectures and port talks. So if we missed these talks in the theater, we could tune in and catch up later on. Although there was just enough storage space for our 2 weeks worth of clothes in this cabin. On one side of the closet consisted of 3 drawers and a half-length clothes bar, while the other side was a full-length clothes bar with hangers. In the entrance hallway, there were 3 additional drawers, along with the safe and an espresso coffee maker. The silver lining is that with self-service laundrettes on every floor, guests can do laundry at any point during the cruise. All guests will appreciate the spacious and premium bathroom on Viking Ocean Veranda staterooms. Heidi is a big fan of the heated tile floors and upgraded Freya bath products. I appreciated the standard size shower, storage, and counter space that you typically don't find in a cruise ship bathroom. Other nice touches included an umbrella and bathrobes for guests to use, USB ports and outlets on each side of the bed, water carafes that were refilled every day, and the included non-alcoholic minibar, plus twice daily housekeeping service. This 14-night Into the Midnight Sun itinerary visited 3 countries, 9 ports, and had 5 days with no sunset. As part of the cruise fare, Viking includes 1 shore excursion at every port. At most ports, these tours are typically a walking tour or a panoramic, or more appropriately, a bus tour. If you're looking for something a bit more active or more in-depth, then you'll need to pay for those tours. If you prefer to do your own thing, Viking did offer a complimentary shuttle into the center of town at most ports as well. Therefore, it was easy for us to get around and explore independently, or to combine guided tours with self-exploration afterwards. Of course, guests can also book tours with local providers or third-party vendors like Shore Excursions Group. Given that most of the tours in London were sold out by the time we got around to booking, we opted to explore the city on our own for the first 2 days of this cruise. By reserving our own tickets and tours, we were able to see several highlights. This included Big Ben and an inside visit to Westminster Abbey, a ride on the London Eye, and a guided tour of the Tower of London. We used a combination of Uber boats, and the Thames River hop on and off boat for our transportation. While everyone recommended the Uber boats, they may not be the best bet if you're looking to sightsee and take photos, as there's no outdoor seating areas. We anchored in Greenwich, and it's important to give yourself plenty of time to tender ashore and to get to London for any activities you're booking on your own. The tender boats only run about every half hour, and a drive into London can take up to an hour with traffic. Being waitlisted for one of the upcharge tours, we opted to combine a Viking panoramic tour with independent sightseeing during our stop in Edinburgh, Scotland. Grabbing the 9:30 a.m. bus for the Edinburgh Highlights tour, we rolled out from the tender point to the city center. Along the 60-minute panoramic tour, our guide provided us with a robust history of the city. From the Palace of Holyrood House, the bus slowly climbed the Royal Mile as it made its way to the towering Edinburgh Castle. Here, the tour gave you about 45 minutes of free time before needing to return to the bus. This is where we bid farewell to our guide and set off on our own. Fortunately, the day before, we made the decision to purchase tickets and an audio guide for Edinburgh Castle. Castle officials let us in a bit early, just in time to see and hear the 1 o'clock gun, which has been setting time for locals since 1861. From there, we spent about 90 minutes exploring the various exhibits. Having gazed at the crown jewels of the Tower of London, we made sure to do the same while in Scotland. From the Royal Palace to the Great Hall, we weaved in and out of this 900-year-old fortified castle, soaking in all the history. Wanting to ensure we didn't miss the last tender back, we used Google Maps to make our way to the ship's complimentary shuttle, conveniently located near Charlotte Square. Recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the heart of Neolithic Orkney consists of several locations that are thousands of years old. Unfortunately, Viking did not offer any tours that include stops at all of them. So we booked 2 tours to cram in as much history as we could during our 8 hours ashore. First up was the included Highlights of Historic Orkney. With a drive-by Maze How and the Stones of Stennis, our bus finally stopped at the Ring of Brodgard. Older than Stonehenge, the 27-stone circle is nearly 5,000 years old. We had about 25 minutes, which gave us just enough time to walk the perimeter and snap some photos. From there, the bus took us to the seafaring village of Stromness. Here we were given 45 minutes to explore independently. This really only gave us enough time to quickly browse a few local shops and take some photos of the village center. From there, we took the scenic route along Scapa Flow to rejoin our ship. As we hugged the shoreline, our guide detailed the waterway's crucial role during World War I and World War II. Returning to the ship, we had just enough time for a quick lunch before venturing back out again for our afternoon tour of Orkney Stone Age. Following Scapa Flow and recounting the same war stories, our bus headed out to Skara Brae. This time, we had about 90 minutes to explore both Skara Brae and Scale House. This was enough time to cover the highlights of each, including listening to our guide give commentary from outside the gate of Skara Brae. Our last stop in the UK was Lerwick in the Shetland Islands. This port was the only stop on the itinerary that we actually had visited before. Back in 2018, we stopped here as part of a British Isles cruise on Celebrity Eclipse. Given it had been 7 years since our last stop, we opted for the included tour, Shetland Panorama and Ponies. Yes, the excursion was another bus tour, but it claimed to have several photo opportunities. Up to this point, we had been experiencing unseasonably warm and sunny days, but our luck finally ran out. As we pulled into the pier, our ship was greeted with wet, gray, and foggy conditions. Unfortunately, the gray skies and intermittent rain continued through our 11 a.m. tour. We weren't able to see much of anything at either of the viewpoints due to the heavy fog. Despite the weather conditions, our guide did an excellent job providing commentary throughout the drive about Shetland culture and heritage. The highlight of the day was our 25-minute stop at Carroll's Ponies. Here we learned about these hardy little animals that have called the Shetland Islands home for over 2,000 years. Getting to see the ponies up close and hearing about their breeding and care was genuinely enjoyable. Leaving the British Isles, we spent a day at sea heading toward our first stop in Norway, Lofoten. This group of islands remains mild all year due to the Gulf Stream. Along with mild temperatures, Lofoten is known for having some of the most picturesque landscapes. Our included tour consisted of a panoramic bus and boat ride along this picturesque coast. Given this was another tender port, we met in the Star Theater, where we were quickly called to go ashore. Once ashore, we met our guide, who walked us down the pier to another boat to begin this approximately 3-hour tour. As the boat began to pull away, we completed the safety drill in just enough time to get outside for some shots of the Viking Jupiter anchored in the harbor. This first portion of the tour was an approximately 90-minute boat ride. Guests seated inside the vessel were treated to narration during most of the cruise. However, we spent most of our time on the outside deck taking photos and videos. The landscapes became increasingly spectacular as we approached the small fishing town of Rain. The photographic village is famous for its traditional red cottages that dot the shoreline where fishermen once processed stockfish. The bus ride back provided a completely different perspective. Our guide offered insightful commentary about the island's culture and the way of life as we passed through the small villages nestled beneath towering peaks. Honestly, up to this point, this is the first included tour that was akin to something we would actually pay for on another cruise line. As we've already mentioned, up to this point, most of the included tours consisted of bus tours, so we were happy to set off on a walking tour in Tromsø. Meeting our guide pierside for our Tromsø on foot tour, we took the 15-minute shuttle from the ship into the heart of the city. Starting at the harbor, our guide began sharing Norwegian history as we strolled along the waterfront. He told us about the country's establishment in 1905 and its first king. He also shared details about the devastating 1969 fire that destroyed many historic buildings near the wharf. From this spot, we could see across the harbor toward the mainland where the famous Arctic Cathedral stands. We walked toward the Polar Museum, while our guide explained Tromsø's role as the gateway to the Arctic. He shared fascinating stories about the city's rich history of polar expeditions. He then led us down Strogata, a pedestrian street lined with restaurants and shops. This is also home to one of Norway's smallest bars. It's also where the wooden cathedral is located. From here, we took a little bit of an unexpected detour to a local glass shop where we watched a glass blowing demonstration that the tour description definitely didn't mention. At this point, we decided to forego the shuttle back to the ship to explore more on our own. We chose to browse the pedestrian area for shopping and sightseeing. We also couldn't resist stopping for a coffee and a traditional chocolate bun. No visit to Tromsø feels complete without this local treat. Viking Jupiter had been above the Arctic Circle for a few days now. Therefore, it was only fitting that the ship proceed north to Honningsvåg, the northernmost city on the mainland of Europe. This quaint village is home to only a few thousand residents, but the main draw here is the North Cape. Located at 71 degrees latitude, it's the farthest northern point in continental Europe accessible by road. So, we weren't going to go all this way and not get a selfie at this historic landmark. Thankfully, the day's included tour was a bus trip here. This hour-long ride took us across the dramatic landscapes to Europe's symbolic northern edge. We headed straight to the famous Globe Monument for photos. Actually, this steel sculpture has become the icon of North Cape since 1978. From here, we spent time admiring the spectacular views from the 1,000-foot cliffs where the Norwegian Sea and Barents Sea meet. Nearby, there's the Children of the World monuments, 7 bronze disc sculptures created by children from different countries in 1988. With the persistent wind and chilly temps, we were eager to head back inside the hall to browse the gift shop and warm up with some hot cocoa. After 2 full days at sea, we were back below the Arctic Circle, heading to our last 2 ports of call. Given the altered itinerary for the sailing, our ship would be anchoring at Eidsdal. While disappointed initially, it turns out that Eidsdal is a quaint, picturesque village. We would later learn that it hasn't seen a cruise ship in over 30 years. Viking's included tour was Eagles Bend Overlook and Panoramic Drive. From Eidsdal, we began what would become an hour-long drive to Djupfjord Lake. The bus climbed through valleys filled with lush green landscapes. We passed the Eagles Bend and other viewpoint on our way up. Initially, this concerned us since they were supposed to be our photo stops. However, we learned later that the tour would first visit the lake, then stop at both viewpoints on the return journey. The narrow and winding mountain road buzzed with tour buses navigating up and back from various lookout points. Arriving at the lake, we had about 20 minutes to take in the views and some photos. We then began our return journey, stopping first at the Flida Juva viewpoint for about 15 minutes. From this viewpoint, we could see 2 cruise ships docked in the fjord below, one being another Viking Ocean ship. Our final stop came at Eagles Bend. Again, we had about 15 minutes for taking some photos of the sweeping vistas of Fjord's dramatic cliffs and cascading waterfalls. After admiring the pristine majesty that has made this fjord world famous, we completed the 30-minute return trip. Once back, we took a short stroll before tendering back to the ship. While for the most part we had pleasant weather, gray skies and intermittent rain dampened our explorations in Bergen, similar to our day in the Shetland Islands. Initially, we had ambitious goals of completing 2 tours on the very last day of the cruise. First, we were going to start the day with an optional tour, a snapshot of Bergen. Then, we were going to follow up with the included Bergen on foot tour in the afternoon. After meeting our tour guide, we took a short bus ride from the pier to our first stop, the funicular, to the top of Mount Floen. Unfortunately, the rain persisted for almost the entire 45 minutes we spent at the summit. We managed to grab a few photos and browse a souvenir shop, but the wet conditions prevented us from enjoying the outdoor facilities and walking trails. From there, we took the panoramic drive through Bergen, passing the fish market and winding through various neighborhoods before heading to the Stave Church. We spent about 45 minutes at the site, though we learned the current structure is actually a complete replica. The original church, dating back to the 11th century, was destroyed by a fire in 1992. Our final stop on this tour was to the UNESCO World Heritage Site of Bergen, where we embarked on a walking tour. The timbered warehouse district still retained its medieval character despite centuries of change. Weaving in and out of the streets, we arrived at the Sjustonen Museum. Here, we explored the multi-purpose rooms that the wealthy Hanseatic merchants once used to gather during their winter months. After the museum visit, we decided to explore more of Bergen independently and to forego the organized Viking walking tour. We tracked down a Starbucks to snag our Been There Norway mug. Then we discovered a nearby bakery for coffee and some local pastries. The rain had finally let up too, making the stroll much more enjoyable and a great way to end our 2 weeks in the Into the Midnight Sun journey. Now that you know what it's really like on a Viking Ocean cruise, we suspect you're ready to book your next trip. But before you do, you need to watch our video right here on YouTube of what's included in a Viking Ocean ship, plus what will cost you extra. In that video, we detail all the inclusions covered in the cruise fare, plus the additional costs you need to budget for. That way, you'll know the true cost of a Viking cruise, and you won't return home with sticker shock.